Good evening. Hello, everyone. This is Sam. Welcome to the Black Women Build Wealth channel. So, today I have a guest for you. As you know, I did not have my live at the regular time today, which was at 12 p.m., but that's because I really wanted to make sure that I was bringing you this special guest. So, I'm super excited to welcome Mona Walker, and she's the host of Single Parent Fire here on YouTube. And so I'll tell you quickly how I came across her channel, and then I'll let her introduce herself, and then we'll get going with the interview. So first, I think YouTube being YouTube, YouTube knows exactly when I'm on YouTube what kind of content I like to consume. So I was just like scrolling, and I came across one of Mona's videos, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Just the name, single parent fire, and I'm a single parent. I'm on the journey of reaching fire as well. So I was just like, okay, let me click and see what the video is about, and I really really enjoyed it. And then I subscribe to her channel, and she does weekly update on her journey, which I really appreciate her transparency and everything. I'm not there yet with my channel. I don't know if that will get there because that's not really the purpose of my channel, but that's the purpose of her channel, and she's really consistent with that. So I'll let her introduce herself, and then we'll get going with the interview. So welcome, Mona, to the Black Women Build Wealth channel. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderful. And hello to everyone. I'm just so excited to be a part of today's live. As introduction, my name is Mona Walker. Like Sam mentioned, I am 40 years old and I live in New York City. I have one child, a daughter. She is currently 4.5 years old. However, she does have a disability. So I'm also on a special needs parenting journey as well, which is interesting. I created my channel called Single Parent Fire because as I was getting more and more interested in the FIRE movement, which is financial independence, retire early, I wasn't seeing any representation of single parents pursuing this. It's a lot of couples or singles with no kids within the FIRE movement. And I thought I want to start a channel that can help other single parents who are on this path, or just anyone in general, see that regardless of your situation, regardless of your obstacles, you can make some type of progress. So that's what my channel is about, is just documenting my path to fire to build a better future for myself and my daughter. So that's just a little bit about me. Also, I work in human resources and I've been working within that profession for the past 10 plus years.
Great. So let's start with the beginning. So how did you come across fire?
So I actually got introduced to fire in 2019. So just to give a bit of additional context, from a financial standpoint, I didn't do anything responsible in my 20s and most of my 30s. I contributed minimally to my 401k. I think I had like $3,000 in my 401k. Definitely wasn't contributing to a Roth IRA or any of the other financial instruments that are available right now, or accounts that are available for us to invest in. So I got introduced to the whole financial planning or personal finance world through Dave Ramsey, because I had a bunch of debt, student loan debt, credit card debt, and they were really stressing me out. And I was going online trying to figure out a solution. Like, how do I get rid of debt? How to get debt forgiven? I was just typing in a bunch of different keywords just to see how I can manage my debt better. And then Dave Ramsey popped up, and then I learned more about him and really got on board with the baby steps. So it was first through Dave Ramsey that I got interested in personal finance and trying to be more responsible in terms of my money and saving for retirement, and learn about all the different retirement accounts that I can invest in, etc. But once I got through that and I was in a good place financially, then I started doing more research in terms of like additional investing I can do, such as investing in stocks or other different types of ETFs. And that's when articles and notes started popping up around like fire movement. And I was like, wait, what's this? And then I went down the fire rabbit hole because I was like, oh wow, this concept is really interesting, because prior to that, following Dave Ramsey, and again, I'm a big fan, I have nothing negative to say about him, I was actually thinking about a traditional retirement age of like 65. it never even crossed my mind that I could retire earlier than the age of 65. Like there was an actual path to do that. So that really, really excited me because in my mind, I'm thinking the earlier I can get out of the corporate work, wheel, the earlier for me. That's something that was very interesting to me. So then from there, I started reading more about the fire movement, started following some folks on YouTube who were pursuing fire, and then started my own documentation of my journey.
Okay, this is amazing. So you came across Dave Ramsey mainly to pay off your debt. So how much debt we were talking about, and how long did it take you to pay off the debt, and which method? I think there is avalanche or snowball. Which one did you use to actually pay off your debt?
So I followed his exact method, and not just paying off the debt. I followed all the baby steps. So baby step one of save $1,000 emergency fund. Like I literally followed it step by step. Baby step two, pay off all debt using the debt snowball method, which is you pay off the debt by the amount. So you start with the lowest debt amount that you have, regardless of interest rate, because it helps to build momentum. It helps to keep you encouraged, which from my personal experience is 100% true. So I had student loan debt of about $50,000, that really big student loan debt that was accruing interest. I also had credit card debt of about $5,000. At one point, I had a car loan of about $13,000. So those were like all of my debts that I had overall. And it did take me a very long time. I'm talking 13 years to pay off every single thing because my income was never high. I never had a high income. So I wasn't able to throw $5,000, $3,000 extra per month towards debt. I was throwing like an extra $50, $20, maybe $100 during Christmas because I got some money from family, right? It was bare minimum stuff that I was doing, an extra $45, right? So it took me a really, really long time to get out of the debt. And that's why now at this point in my life, I'm so anti-debt because never again. And that was a very, very challenging period of my life. So that's how I did it. It was from the smallest all the way up to the largest. And just over 13 years, I was able to pay everything off because the balances were just so high.
Mm-hmm. So this is amazing. And so just the fact that you kept at it for 13 years, it already speaks, of the type of person that you are, because it really takes a lot of work and really determination to do that. And so one thing that I wanted to ask, when you came across fire, and that's because when I came across fire, I was like talking to everyone who wanted to hear hear me talk about fire. But a lot of people, they check out. They're like, oh no, I can never do this. I won't be able to make it happen. I don't even want to try. So what made you think that essentially that you could do that, you could literally retire earlier than the normal age, I guess, of 65?
Right. So honestly, when I first found the fire movement and really started learning from like the bloggers and the YouTubers, it was discouraging at first because a lot of these folks have very high incomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a high income earner at that point. We're going to talk about income a little bit later. So it was very discouraging because they were like software engineers at Google. And I'm like, yeah, okay, must be nice. Like, I don't know, like, what, yeah. So, or like, again, married couple with dual income and therefore like a really high income. And I was like, okay, like, a lot, I'm seeing who's being successful at it and they don't represent me. So I'm getting a very strong message that this path is not for me. But what I decided to do was, instead of getting my feelings about that, I said, well, what can you learn from them? Yes, they have a high income and it's probably annoying to you and others that they have that. But what are some of like just the fundamentals they're doing? Okay, they are taking the opportunity to work within a budget. So they're budgeting. Anyone, regardless of your income, can budget.
Yeah.
So maybe you start doing that. Start putting together your own budget. What else can you learn from them? Okay, from the budget, it seems like they have some excess cash left over. Well, let's look at your budget. you also have some excess cash left over. Yes, it's nowhere near the amount that they have, but you have an extra $20 left over that you can put into your brokerage account. You can open a Roth IRA and put that $20 there, right? So the same steps that they're taking, you can take the exact same steps. It's just your dollar amount is going to be significantly less until you work on increasing your income. And then once you do that, then you're going to be able to really aggressively invest in all of those different accounts. So I had to realign the way I was thinking about a lot of the people I was viewing on the fire movement, because I was getting very frustrated. But once I got past that, I was able to start to build the foundational skills and knowledge needed to get on a path to better my future. And also the way I was thinking about it was, listen, this, whatever the additional actions that you're doing because you're learning from these individuals on the fire movement is 10 times anything you were doing in the past. So you just doing this change in your life, I already know your future is going to be way better than if you just get frustrated and annoyed and just not do anything at all.
Right. Good on you. And so you decided to essentially document your journey on YouTube. So why did you decide to be so transparent about your journey and really, like showing your numbers in all of your accounts? What made you decide to actually do that?
Sure. So I decided to document my journey on YouTube because I was constantly watching personal finance videos on YouTube, especially around the fire movement. And as folks were sharing their thoughts on different topics, sharing their journey, I found myself just internally saying, oh, yes, well, this is what I would say about that particular topic, or, oh, this is the status of my account, and oh, I made this financial. So a lot of it was very lonely, to be honest, in terms of not being able to share my thoughts, my experience with anyone at all, because I didn't know anyone who is pursuing fire in real life, someone I could have like a weekly or bi-weekly meeting with, and we talk about our money moves that week and our goals and our aspirations. So I was just literally talking to myself, and I thought, wait, you watch YouTube a lot. Why don't you just start your own YouTube channel? And I was like, oh my gosh, no, like I was so nervous. I'm like, oh no, I can't like start a YouTube channel. It's like, you literally watch YouTube every single day, all personal finance videos. Like, it's so glaring that this is something you're really interested in. This is something that you're really passionate about. I think you should start it. And this is just all self-talk, by the way, just talking to myself. And I said, okay, but we need to make this feasible because I have a very demanding job. I don't have a lot of time, so I can't do editing and all these other things because I'm never going to post a video. So then that's when, from seeing other channels that have done screen share videos, I thought, oh, this is really easy and convenient. I can just screen share, do my updates, upload, and then I'm completely done with it. Okay. So that's why I decided to start posting, because I was already obsessed with YouTube and personal finance and just wanted an avenue to express how I was feeling, right or wrong, and wanted to just be extremely transparent as well. So the reason why I'm transparent with my numbers was because not a lot of channels actually show their numbers. A lot of channels, they'll talk about their numbers. So they might give like a net worth update or a dividend update, but they'll post like a write-in on the screen that shows, month of November, net worth is X, Y, and Z, and then they'll have a list of their accounts. But not that I'm skeptical, but I always thought, wow, it'd be really great to see, does this person really have 400,000 in their 401k plan? Right? Like, that's great, right? That's such a great goal. But I'm like, oh, I don't know. I guess it's sort of like the honor system you have to operate from when folks don't show their account. So I wanted to show my account just from a real transparency perspective, because I know that's something that I thought about. And it's like, no, when I'm saying I have 100,000 in my brokerage account, I really do have that. And here it is on the screen showing you, and I'll show you all the details, what I invested in, because I do think I don't want to say if you're not showing your numbers, that doesn't mean you're not being honest and transparent. But I think it just makes you, it just I don't know, make your story maybe a little bit more believable in terms of like, okay, the information that you're putting out, it's actually what's happening in your life, and you're not hiding or sort of editing your numbers along the way. So that's why I share the numbers.
Well, I have to say that, that's something that I appreciate from your channel, because as you go through those numbers, actually, you talk at the same time. And I can feel the emotions, when you're happy, when you're angry, when you're upset, and everything. And those are the things that most of the time you don't really see, because people will look at their numbers and then they'll get into a composure and then do the video.
Right.
And so it's good. It's good to definitely see that, and see how you just keep at it, and you come back. The following week, you're like, I'm here. I don't really feel like being here, but I'm doing it. And so it's really amazing. So in terms
Yeah,
of
and that was really important to me too, Sam. I'm glad
Mhm,
you mentioned that.
mhm.
Just being extremely authentic, because yes, I'm all for positivity and looking on the bright side and definitely staying encouraged. But I also think it's okay to give ourselves grace to be human. So for me to log into my portfolio and to see that it's down 10,000, and for me to be like, oh, this is great. Like, I hope it goes down more, because then that means I buy on the low. No, I'm not going to say that. Yes,
Exactly.
conceptually, I get that, but this is annoying. Like, I work really hard for my money. Like, I'm the sole provider for my family. There's blood, sweat, and tears that went into earning this income. No, I don't want to lose not even a dollar of it. And I think a lot of people in real life feel that way, and that's why a lot of people don't invest, right? Because they think the stock market is like gambling. So it's like you have to show like the real emotions, and it's not just this happy-go-lucky emotion that really only sits primarily in the fire community, right? Because it's really the fire people that are like, oh yes, stocks under a discount, this is great.
Yeah,
I'm like, you go on the street and talk to an average American, one, they're probably not even
they're
investing, but
not
if
happy.
they are, they're upset
Yeah.
that their portfolio went down. So I
Hmm.
also wanted to like give a voice to average people, not just the mindset of the fire community who like cheer and do cartwheels when the stock market is
Yeah.
crashing. Because I just don't think that's realistic for most people.
It's not. And at the end of the day, money is very emotional. That's just the
Yeah,
reality of it. Like you say, we work hard for our money. Nobody has gotten like a bag of money dropped on their head. And even for me, who have been investing for whatever, 15 plus years, when I log into my account and I see it's down, yes, I've been through a lot of ups and downs, made my mistakes and everything, but there's still a bit of, oh my God, I hope it doesn't stay there. I hope it comes back, because seriously, I want this account to be up, essentially. I'm not investing to make losses. I'm investing to make gains, and that's what you want to see. So I totally get it. And I know there was a period in there, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks in a row, where it was down, the markets were down, and I'm like, oh my God, Mona, hold on. I know. I know
like
this
every
is
week though. So
frustrating.
that's the other thing I wanted to show. Like, even though I'm complaining, even though it's really hard, every single week. I'm still putting in money every single week. I might get really frustrated one
Yeah.
particular week and put in less money, but I'm still invested every single week through that entire period. So keep
Yeah.
going, but give yourself grace if it's really difficult for you to
Mhm.
manage the emotions of the stock market.
Wow, that's good. So I just want to say hello to a few people in the chat here. And if you're watching, please feel free to say hi and ask any question that you may have for Mona here. Beyond the Monstera, hello, hello. Thanks for joining us. And Music Fever has been here for a little while. And she says, showing the real emotions, 100%. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. It's definitely something that I feel like sometimes on any platform might be missing, because things are so edited, super edited, and everyone wants to have
Right.
the perfect video. Like I've been told I don't have a good audio, I don't have a good video, but I'm like, that's what's gonna be until YouTube pays me money and I can buy better equipment. Just focus on the information that I'm bringing you. I'm gonna be bringing you amazing guests, that's gonna help you in your wealth building, but you
Right.
know that's just what it is. Um, so, Phi, what is your Phi number, and when do you think you're going to be hitting that number?
Now, this is going to be such like a vague response, because like I know some people really nerd out in terms of their fire number, and they do all the calculations and they add in this and they have the projections like by year,
Mhm.
what the portfolio is going to grow to, and in 7 years is going to double. And if you do, some people really nerd out on that. That's not me. I think for me, so I know what my fine number is. So my fine number is 1.3 million.
Okay.
Now I say that because, again, I work in a very, very demanding job. I'm like, the second I hit 800K, I'm retiring. Like, I'm not waiting for 1.3 million. I'm like, I'm not going to make it to 1.3 million. So 1.3 million is based off my projected annual expense times 25.
Mhm.
So that's just the number that popped out. So I'm like, sure. But as life goes on, my goal is to, one, try to pay off my mortgage as fast as possible, because if I can get rid of the mortgage, then my fine number would be like 300,000, because
Yeah.
my expenses would be so low, even living in a high cost of living area like New York City. Because at that point, all I'm paying is just utilities, food,
Mhm.
and my monthly subway card that costs $100. Right. Like it's not any major expenses. I don't have a car, right? So it's going to be very minimal from an expense standpoint, even taking care of my daughter, right? Because it's food, clothes, right? I'm not spending $1,000 a month on her.
Mhm.
So that's what my fire number is. But I'm always, I'm just like, I'm going to take it one sort of year at a time and kind of see what my net worth is, how everything
Mhm.
is looking. And the second I feel confident to retire, I plan to do so. But if I do it just based off like the traditional process of 1.3 million,
Mhm.
based off like the rough calculations I've done, I should reach that number by the age of 52 if I keep up my investing the way that I am right now.
Mhm.
But again, when I think about 52, I'm 40. I'm like, you want me to do this for 12 months? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make it for 12 more years. I don't know.
It
I'm
goes
thinking
it
five
goes
more
by
years, maybe, and then I'm done.
but it goes by fast. And but honestly, I know like you just celebrated so many milestones toward the end of 2023, and I'm like, this is it. You hit the 100K in your retirement portfolio. You hit so many milestones, and I'm like, even in paying off your mortgage, I'm like, this is it. It's just like the first few months or years that are kind of like a bit tricky. And then once you
Yeah.
have that cadence and you keep at it, it goes by so fast. So, we'll be rooting for you, Mona. I know you can get it. And you might not have to do it for 12 additional years. I promise you, you come back to this video and you'll be like, yeah, no, that was not. So I have a quick question for you here, and we're gonna go back to the debt. Did the 3 years that it actually took you to repay your debt, did that feel actually lonely, or did you have some support other than the fire community?
Full transparency, it was a very, very lonely journey. Even to today, I would say my fire journey is very lonely, because outside of YouTube, I don't talk about fire at all,
And why is that, if I may ask?
because I don't know anyone personally that's in fire that I could pick up my cell phone and call right now,
Hmm.
or meet for dinner and talk in person. It's all online communities of individuals, again, that are wonderful, but we will never meet
Hmm.
ever, unless, I don't know, some type of unique circumstance happen where we do meet. So when I think about my day to day, the majority of my time is not online. It's the real world, working and taking care of my daughter. So any thoughts about fire or anything like that, paying off, when I was paying off, it was just me thinking to myself. I didn't know anyone else on a debt journey besides all the YouTube channels, right? Like, who are like, yeah, you could meet people who have credit card debt and like, oh yeah, I'm
Hmm.
working to like try to pay down my debt, or like I'm trying to reduce my, but no one who has like an Excel spreadsheet, has all of their debts listed out from smallest to largest, is putting in the dates of the extra payment. Like no one who's nerding out like that, because that's what I want to hear. Like, oh, this week, like how much are you trying to pay? Like what area within your budget are you gonna try to cut to like put an extra, I don't know, $2, towards your credit card debt? Like,
Yeah, it's not really a sexy
and
topic.
everyone in my life that I could talk
Yeah.
to, still don't to this day,
Hmm.
that I could talk to like that. But
Yeah.
that's where my YouTube channel comes in terms of offering me support and just an outlet to share my thoughts and opinion. And then, of course, all the like the Fire Facebook groups I'm a part of. Your channel, Sam, right? It's really nice to watch and to see others trying to just share information on how to build wealth and build a better future for yourself and your family.
That's a very good topic, and thank you, Music Fever, for this question. And I totally agree with you. When I came across Fire, I felt like I was the only one in my circle of friends, and my sister was patient with me. I was kind of like talking her ears off, but I'm like, I can't be, at one point she's just gonna be like, okay, leave me alone. I get it. So I agree with you. The community was online and everything, but one thing that I did. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure you know the Choose a Five podcast.
Yes.
So I started with Mr. Money Mustache, and I felt like it was just too extreme for me. Like he was doing things that I'm like, I'm never gonna do. I'm never gonna be growing my own veggies and all of that. I'm not that type of person. I want to reach fire, but there is just a certain level of convenience and lifestyle that I still want to have. And I'm not a handy person. I call people to help me for the basic thing. So I'm like, I don't want to. So I could have given up at that point and be like, this is not for me. But I'm like, there must be a way to do this without this extreme, path, right? So that's how I came across Choosify. And one thing that Choosify did is that they actually created, there is a big Choosify group on Facebook, and then they created Choosify per city.
Yes.
So I live in Ottawa, Canada. So in being in the big one, I realized that some people were talking about the Choosify in their city. And I'm like, wait a second, do we have one in Ottawa? And they had a page created, like a group created, but the group was just sitting there idle. And so I messaged them, like, I see that there's a Choosify Ottawa page, but a group, but there is nothing in there. And they're like, oh, we're waiting for someone to raise their hand to be the admin. And I'm like, I'm here.
Oh,
I was like, I will be the admin. I'll get people on board. I'll do things. I'll make sure the group stays alive. And it's been 3 years now. We like 330 people on the group, but I'll say probably 10% are really active. And pre-COVID, we used to have meetup. Probably every 3 months, we'll have meetup. We'll get together, a restaurant, a park, and we're just gonna have the time of our life, just talking about investments and paying down debt and all of those things, and freely talking about money. And that was great. And even during COVID, we just started doing online meetups, but just for the Choose FI Ottawa group. And people really appreciate that because, again, it is a lonely process. Like, it's not easy. It's not like you want to talk about, clothing and luxury and like stars. And like, people don't find really money topic that sexy. So, it's not easy to have a conversation with people about that. It drains people. It's very emotional, right? So if you're talking to someone and they're already not comfortable with their financial situation, they don't want to talk about it that much. So it's really something that, it's not easy. So I want to acknowledge that, and I still want to commend you for sticking with it. Like, even for the debt repayment, people drag student loan for years and years. I'm not saying it's their fault, but like, it's just to say that life happens, and so it's really hard sometimes to commit to something and get it done, really execute. It's not easy. So
absolutely. And to be fair, right, even with the debt, I was very normal in my thinking around debt. I also was not planning to pay off my debt. I only started working on a debt plan once I found Dave Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
So I really have to give Dave Ramsey all the credit there, because prior to finding him, I just did the minimum payments. It was like, well, I don't know. I guess I'll be paying this till death. Like, it is what it is. Oh, well, like thinking very normal, like everyone else thinks.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times, and that's all ignorance, right? It's just, I never even knew that, like, and I know it's easy to say, like, well, of course, you must know just common sense that you can, like, pay off your debt.
No, it's not. It is not.
It's literally like, unless you get exposed to these concepts and these ideas and really understanding how debt is stealing from your future and how getting rid of the debt will free up your income, and then that can help you to, you're going to keep that debt around forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
it just doesn't cross your mind to even like pay it off as soon as possible.
It is, yeah. So sorry, I hope, are you hearing any echo coming from me?
No echo.
Okay, that's perfect. So I know you went through your debt journey by yourself. I mean, your debt repayment journey, and I had that in mind, but I'm glad that someone asked for it in the chat. is there any way that you can look? I don't know if you already looked if there is a local fire chapter, or even for you to get started with one. And I'm saying that, acknowledging that you're super busy, and like me, you're a single parent, and there is not enough hours in a day. But in terms of, I have to say, in terms of support, even for me, even right now, we like online and we haven't met in person in a long time. I still like it to just pop in the group and just like share a few articles, and people ask for questions, and some stuff are really specific to living in Ottawa. Some sorts are more like specific to living in Canada because we don't have the same tax system and all of those things. So do you think that's an option that maybe you could consider to help you in this fire journey?
So definitely don't have the capacity to start a group or like be an admin of a group, but I'm actually part of a lot of local like fire groups. So Choose FI, I'm part of the New York City chapter, but you would think New York City, oh, you all must have like a meetup every week, like maybe
Yeah.
even twice a week. It's so no, actually,
Okay.
it's virtual. I'm also part of like a fire New York City group of meetup.com. That group meets on a monthly basis. It's all Zoom. So it's, but then there are members who like connect with each other, and they'll like post a picture of them like at dinner. It's like, oh, that was more like a one-off thing. It looks like. So it's not as active as I thought it would be. I thought I would just have like so many options just because it's New York City. But that said, it doesn't mean that there aren't other groups that maybe I'm not a part of, because there's just no way I'm part of every single New York City fire community. So
Probably.
that's a challenge to myself to go on Facebook and try to find like additional groups, because there might be some groups that are just a bit more active in terms of in-person
Mhm.
interaction and just sharing life journey and thoughts and ideas.
Mhm. Okay. Well,
Oh, but actually, oh, funny story. Oh my gosh. Okay, I take that back. So in one of the meetup groups, not meetup, one of the Facebook fire groups that I was a part of, I did one time put a post asking to form a group of people who were interested in meeting on a weekly basis just to talk about fire, what news or what topic they want to talk about, what they invested, or what the challenge was for that week. And I did get like several interest in that, and I did get that set up. So I had a Zoom that I set up every week to meet with these individuals, and of course everyone was welcome in terms of like the path that they're on, as long as you're like thinking about fire. And that group lasted maybe for a month, because what tends to happen is that, I don't want to say people are non-committal, but people are non-committal, right? So it's like, I come this week, then I no show the next
Mhm.
2 weeks, and you don't hear from me, or I say I'm coming, but then I no show and I didn't let you know why I'm not coming. I think just people have busy lives, and it's just, there's not really like a firm commitment in terms of, oh, I signed up for this group. If they're meeting on a weekly basis, that we make sure that I'm actually showing up and meeting on, so we can like build friendships and a community, right? Because you need to show up to build that community. So then it started getting really stressful of me, like trying to follow people, like, oh, where are you? Are you still coming, etc. And it just wasn't worth it. And then several of the people stopped coming altogether, and then it was down to like 3 people, including myself. And I was like,
Not worth it.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
tried. I did try that one time, but it didn't work out.
Good for you.
But it doesn't mean that, right? It's just one time. Doesn't mean that you don't try again.
Yeah,
It'll
definitely.
be fine.
Hey Cooper. Just to confirm, was Josefa? Yes, that was the. So it's the Josefa is a podcast, yeah, American podcast, and yes, that was the one that we were actually talking about. So there is one Josefa in New York City. I live in
Yeah.
Ottawa, Canada. There's also Josefa Ottawa here. And we actually do have some mustachians as part of the Josefi. So even if we choose a fire, everybody is, it's looking after, getting to fire. Some people are already fired actually in the Choose a Fire Ottawa, which is really good because then you get to talk to people who have already done it. They've been fired for like 5, 10 years, and you're like, okay, that, you get a good mix of people and conversations that can be really interesting, especially when someone has a question. Um, so let's talk about. So I remember on one in one of your videos, I think you said I contributed, let's say, 3,000 to my retirement portfolio, and so I was listening. I honestly didn't really click that that the amount was so big, but definitely one of your viewers caught it, and then I always like to leave your comment because I say like I really admire the way you have been doing this, and so I also read some of the comments. And so one of your viewers was like, listen, how can you contribute 3,000 just like that to your portfolio? Are you a high income earner? And then I like how you went in, you're like, yes, I'm a high income earner. Just in the past year or so, I hopped. You said, I think you say you job hopped, and now that you're making the $200,000 a year. And I'm like, I want to hear, how did you make that happen? Because you didn't mention when you were paying down your debt, you were not high income earners. So can you tell us a little bit about the process and really how that has really changed your life so far?
Right. So I'm going to keep it real. So I know within the personal finance community, fire community, there is a lot of thought of, you can invest with $1, you can invest, put $3, and all of those conceptually are true, right? Like, it's better for you to take some action versus no action, and every penny that you put towards building a better future for yourself, it does count, absolutely. But I would be dishonest if I sit here and say, if you're really trying to make progress, like real progress, and achieve fire, that not having a high income is not a factor. Of course, it is a factor. I'm able to contribute $3,000 because I'm a high income earner. That's the only reason why. When I wasn't, there's no way I'd ever be able to do that. I would be lucky if I was able to contribute 3,000 for the year,
Yeah.
much less than 1 week, right? So having a high income, I wouldn't say you need it to achieve fire, but you should be taking action to try to increase your income as much as possible. So here's the mistake that I made, and I know people might have different opinions on this. I was at an employer for 6 years, getting a 1.2% raise every single year. So I wasted a lot of years not increasing my income. But for me, it was, oh, it's 100% remote job. It's not that stressful. So you're going to have to pick what you want to do. And again, I'm not trying to be harsh or anything like that. But if you're looking for flexibility and comfort, then just find peace in knowing that your income will probably cap out at a lower end.
Mm-hmm.
And you're only going to achieve but so much with a lower income. And you just find peace with that, because for you, flexibility, not having a stressful role, having more time to spend with your family, like that's more important to you. Because there's no way to kind of like get around the fact that you do need to put in a lot of effort and energy into increasing your income. And when you're in a high income role, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
There's no one in a high income role who can say, I leave work at 5 o'clock every day. All my weekends is 100% free. I never have to check my work phone after hours. I never have to do work after hours. There's not one person in a high income job that can say that. So there's sacrifice in that, right? But depending on your personality, depending on who you are, you might be someone who would be interested in going after that or not. But just know, if you don't, kind of accept your situation for what it is, and don't live in a state of complaint or complaining, right? Of not having enough money to pay your bills and not being able to do this. Like, well, you have to increase your income, and that's going to take more out of you. That's going to take more time away from you. Like, you have to sacrifice something. There's no story where it's like all balanced.
Yeah.
You have to make a sacrifice on one of the ends. So for me, and especially being a single parent and with my daughter being disabled, I was very, very hyper aware of trying to make sure that, and again, thanks to Dave Ramsey and the fire movement educating me around this, trying to build a better future for us. Because just really quickly, when you're a parent and you're thinking about the future for your children, when you have a neurotypical child, the path might seem more straightforward. Meaning that once that child turned 18, you're off the hook. Legally, you're off the hook. Yes, you might still have them at home. Yes, you might still have them on your insurance. Yes, you might pay for college. You might still buy, but that's 100% your choice. You don't have to do any of those things legally. You can tell that child to move out. Bye-bye. Good luck. I love you. And that's it. You're done. You're done. They can't take you to court for anything. You're absolutely done. But when you have a child with a severe disability that's going to require lifetime care, there's no end date for you. There is no end. What's the end date, right? That child requires 24-hour care. So whether that child is 4 or whether that child is 34, they're going to need someone round the clock caring for them. That's extremely expensive. Just think about that. If you needed care for your lifetime, that's millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that's going to take. So that really scared me as well in terms of, wait, I need to do everything that I possibly can to increase my income so that I can start saving more and investing more aggressively for my retirement, yes, but also for my daughter's future. Because at the end of my life, I want to be able to say, I did everything I possibly could to help build a better future for her. And I didn't make excuses. I didn't take the easy route. I took the really hard route. So that's what really also motivated me to find a higher paying job. So after being at that job for 6 years with 1.2% raises, which in that's to account for inflation. So net, I had no raises for 6 years. I started applying for other opportunities to see if I could increase my income. And just to be extra transparent, when I was at that job for 6 months, 6 years, my base salary was $85,000. And I know some people might hear that number and say, that's not low. That's not a low salary. That's actually a really good salary. $85,000. That's great. Not when you live in New York City, it's not. New York City, very high, expensive, high cost of living areas. That's like one of the prime cities that's always on the list of high cost of living areas. So $85,000, and then you pull out taxes. It really, because New York City get taxed, New York City taxes, you get state taxes, federal, like they tax you to the max in New York City. So $85,000 actually doesn't take you far at all. You can live, you can pay bills, you can rent an apartment, but you couldn't buy a property in New York City on $85,000. Your income, it's way too low in terms of like what the properties are, the cost of the properties here. You just, there's no way you can pay those mortgage payment and then keeping up the maintenance of the property is just way too expensive. So that was $85,000. So I started looking for other jobs because I thought, okay, if I can get my salary to 100,000, at least then I'll be at the 6-figure mark, and then I can just work and on trying to increase my income. Now, I lucked out a bit in terms of timing, because I don't know if folks remember like 2021, 2022, it was a really hot job market. Like, so many employers were looking for employees. Like I felt like I read so many articles where it's like, you know, people aren't working and all these jobs are looking for employees, and you know, like it's just so many jobs. There's like 50 jobs to one person. That was the time I started looking for another opportunity. So I got a lot of hits on jobs that I was applying to because employers were like trying to find people, and because there was a shortage of folks in the marketplace, in the job marketplace, they were also a lot more generous from a compensation standpoint. So when I started job hunting, remember, I was thinking, oh, if I can just get my base salary to 100,000, I would be like really happy with that, just to get into the 6-figure.
Yeah.
The job I actually got, the base was 165. So way above what I
Almost double.
thought I could potentially earn. But this is a really great lesson, and I want folks to listen to this. You don't know what you're worth until you put yourself out in the market. I know it's really easy to be at a job that's comfortable. And again, I was there for comfortable. It was 100% remote. It wasn't stressful. You know, the hours were 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's
You
really
get
easy,
comfortable.
really easy for me to like stay in that little cushy role
Mhm.
instead of like putting myself out there. And because I stayed in that cushy role, I had no idea what I was worth in the marketplace because I was in that little cushy role. So
Mhm.
the moment I stepped out, I was like, wait, I'm actually worth 165. I'm being severely underpaid at $85,000. And of course, with the new law in New York State, and I think it's in other states as well, when you're recruiting with a company, they can't ask you what your current compensation is.
Oh wow.
What they ask you is what your salary expectations were.
Mhm.
So I was given a wide range. I would say like 100 to like 150. Again, just like, yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna land. You know, I'm like, again, in my mind, I'm like, I just be happy with 100. Like,
Exactly.
me. Um, so I was just given like a wide range around that, just thinking I'm being really ridiculous. And again, but I had extra confidence because of the labor market at the
Yeah.
time. Keep that in mind
Mhm.
because I was getting so many hits. I was like, oh, let me just like throw out really wild numbers and like see
Yeah.
what happens. So I got a job at 165, right? I started that job in January of 2022. Right. So I started job hunting in 2021, the hot job market. Remember, January 2022 was also a hot job market, the
Yeah.
same,
Same
you
thing.
know, sort of frazzleness of employers trying to find employees. So while I'm at this job and I'm just 6 months into it, this company reached out to me on LinkedIn about an opportunity,
Yeah.
right?
That's what happened. That's what
So they
happened.
reached out to me about an opportunity. Now, remember, once I made that jump and now my base is 165, now in my mind, I'm like, oh, for me to make a move, it needs to be like 185,
Yeah.
200,000. Again, this is a number that I'm like, whoa, I like it's so high
Mhm.
compared to what I was coming from. I was like, there's no way, there's just no way they're gonna pay me that. That's so high. I thought like that's what CEOs made and like heads of
Yeah.
departments
Yeah.
and like I don't know, lawyers and doctors. I'm like, no way they're gonna pay me what that's almost $200,000. I'm going through the process and the recruiter shares with me that, you know, the base salary range is, you know, 200 to 220K. Almost like oh, I like put I held it together like, okay, that sounds reasonable given the role, the expectations, and my experience. That's how I responded. But in my head, I was like, what?
What? Good for
Yeah,
you.
it was nuts. So I got through that interview process. It was very grueling. I interviewed with 13 different people
Wow.
for my role, my current role right now. So I came in at a base of $220,000. So that's my current base salary. Now, everyone has their own interpretation of what a high earner is. For me, I call myself a high earner because to me, anyone that earns 200,000 or more on your base salary alone, to me, that's a high earner. Like that's a lot of money. That's an income that the overwhelming majority of people probably will never hit in their
Correct.
lifetime.
Correct.
So that's why I identify myself as that. But
Mhm.
it's 220, you know, plus my bonus as well, which on average, like last year, I got a 600, not 600, I got a 60K bonus. So like my total comp was 280, so almost 300,000, right? In 1 year, and that was the year 2022.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was last year, 2023,
Great. Yeah.
which made sense in terms of why I had such a successful financial year as well because of
But
that really high income.
I still want to commend you because there are people making that amount of money, but still not putting as much in their investment. And so
That's true,
that's my
right?
question too is like, how do you resist lifestyle inflation when something like that happens? And especially living in New York City where there are so many temptations
Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, you could be spending that money, that extra money, like so easily. Like, what like how did you do to really resist and be like I'm still going to make sure that I'm actually throwing all that extra money into my investments.
Right. So one, One thing I learned once I became a high earner is that you get taxed a lot.
Yeah, same here.
Well,
Same,
yes, and
same in Canada.
thousands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I pay like to 6,000 to $6,500 a month in taxes.
Oof,
Just that's someone's salary.
that
That
hurts. That hurts.
literally that's all taxes that come out. So I mean that 220, it like I'm netting 10K a month off of 220
Yeah.
now, and people are making way less than 220 and netting 10K a month, right? So
Mhm.
just to put it in perspective in terms of just the higher taxes and a higher
Yeah.
cost of living area. But also I am making contributions in amounts to like max up my 401k, max up my HSA. So those, and health insurance, dental, vision, those withdrawals or deductions are being withheld from my paycheck as well. So if it was just purely taxes, I probably would net 12K a month.
Okay.
But because of those additional deductions, I net about 10K a month.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Hmm.
But in terms of how I
Yeah. Why didn't
am
you
able to still invest
decide
at that
to?
income. So
Yeah.
for me, it's really about living below my means. So when I think about my life, honestly, and maybe this is a bad thing, I'm not sure. There's not anything that I really want.
Mm.
Like when I think, like, some people are like, oh man, if I could like, get a
I'll
Birkin
just buy
purse,
that
like,
car. I'll buy that car.
that would be amazing, right? Or like, oh, if I can get a Tesla, like,
Yeah.
man, that's my dream. Like, I'm gonna create a sinking fund for it. Or like, oh man, if I could like, go on a vacation to the
Yeah.
Maldives, like, oh yeah, like let me like save,
Exactly. Yeah.
20,000 for that. There's not anything that I really, really want. And I think about, and I did this exercise with myself. I thought if someone asked me, what would be the best gift that someone could give you? Immediately, I'm like, pay off my mortgage.
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that because
Right?
I saw
So
you. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
yeah. So I think for me, it's more
Hmm.
that there's nothing that I really, really, really want. Would it be nice to like get my nails done every week, get pedicures every week, get massages every week, get my makeup done professionally, or like have like a personal
Mhm.
uh,
Styling.
stylist that like goes out and buy things for me, or like go to a really expensive gym. Yeah, all those things would be nice. Or go, and treat myself to, I don't know, really nice dinners at least once a week, spend $300-400 on a dinner every week. Yeah, those things or like take Ubers everywhere I go. So like not even really take the subway, just like treat myself to taking Ubers, anywhere I need to go. Yeah, sure. I would appreciate a lot of those different things. Yeah, it makes life easier.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I see the benefit of the convenience. But for me, it's nothing that I'm really like super excited about. Like it's nothing that I'm like, oh, I would be so happy if I took Ubers everywhere. Like, yeah, let's do it, right? It's just like, yeah, that would be nice, sure, one day in the future, when I build
Mhm.
up my portfolio to a certain level,
Yeah, I
right?
love
So
that.
I think because I have that mindset, I'm able to
Mhm.
not fall into a lot of the traps
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people fall into. And again, being a part of the fire movement and Dave Ramsey, right, just them talking about all those traps as well. I'm very hypersensitive in terms of all of these different areas. So like one example, for instance, about living below my means, I bought my first home at the age of 40 in August for myself and my daughter. And the purchase price of the home is $435,000. Based off my income, I qualified for a
For a million,
whole lot more. I could have gotten
probably.
like 700K, 800K home,
Yeah.
but I'm like, nope, because I don't need that mortgage payment taking up half of my paycheck. I don't need
Thank
that mortgage
you.
payment being $5,000-6,000 a month. That's
Hmm.
gonna put me in really big trouble. But a lot of people do that, right? Because I could have said like, you're making over 200K, like, girl, you have the money. Like, treat
Hmm.
yourself. Like, how hard do you work? You work really hard. Like,
You
get something
deserve it.
really, really, really nice. Like, Get something that's like newly built, all stainless steel appliance. Like treat yourself. This is like your forever home, right? Like it was so easy for me to talk myself into that, but I was like, no, listen, a job to me is a job and it's not guaranteed. Yes, I'm in this job now earning this income. Can I say 100% I'll be in it 3 months from now? Nope. I work within finance. It's very fickle.
Yeah.
It's very cutthroat. Um, People get fired all the time very easily. So someone would be very naive to come into this industry and get comfortable. You really need to always be on your toes in terms of like your performance and how you're doing. And you just never know how you could be like the rock star this week and then you make a major mistake and now everyone hates you and then you're being managed out of the organization. So I never take my salary for granted. And I think because of that, I was extra careful. I'm always extra careful in terms of my spend because again, I don't know how long I'll be making 220. I hope for 7 more years, but it could be gone this year. I have no idea, right? The financial markets are still turbulent. Things haven't really turned around, and that's affecting my firm and other finance firms as well. I'm like, who knows? They might make a decision and say we need to like cut headcount, and her salary is just high because we can replace her. Because now in the current job market, it's tough.
Yeah,
right.
it is tough,
Like there's a lot of people looking, a lot of people who are laid off. We could let her go and get someone to do her exact role for like probably half the base salary because people are just really anxious to get back working after being laid off.
Yeah.
Right? It's not my company, it's not my mom's company, right? Like I don't have any protection. So I try to make decisions that account for, hey, we don't know how long we're going to be in this high earning job. So let's be smart here.
This is great. This is a, you know, I used to work in a bank and I used to actually do pre-approval mortgages, and people with high income like that will come, and yes, your pre-approval is like in the million, and people are like, oh my god, I can buy a house for 1 million. I can tell you, over 95% of them will end up buying something which is very close to the amount that they were pre-approved for. And to me, it was, I think, I guess a lot of my worry about money came from there, because I'm just like, oh my God, that's a huge mortgage payment. Yes, you're making the salary, but like you say, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. And so I think in one of your videos, you did mention that your mortgage payment is like 25% of your net pay. And I'm like, brilliant. This girl is smart. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, definitely that's not going to happen to you. You're going to keep your job, they're going to pay you more and everything. But if something was to happen, listen, you can get another job which is half of the pay and still being able to pay your mortgage and still being
Right.
able to eat, to, and I'm like, this is what it is, right? So I really commend you for not falling into that trap of like going, inflating your expenses just because your salary also increased. And I think that's really the mindset that is of course very prominent in the fire community. But again, we know that's the thing to do, but sometimes we don't do it, right? So it's really good to see that you actually I guess, like, stay the course and really make sure to buy something that is.
You also need to know your why to stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's one, I want to retire because I'm burnt out and I'm tired and I want to rest as soon as I humanly possibly can. So like, let's make sure that we're doing that, Mona, because we're not working to 65. We've already decided that. And then two, I have my daughter to care for, right? She has a disability.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. I cannot leave her hanging. That's not something I would be okay with at the end of my life. That let my daughter hang in. So right, so those are my anchors. So you have to have some really good anchors, because if you're just like, oh well, I'm trying to like pay off debt, it's like you're not gonna make it. Because when the days get tough, right? When the days get tough and you have a hard day at work, like I have a lot of hard days at work, and I'm like, oh, I deserve, like I don't know, I just want to treat myself to something. If I don't have any anchor, I'm gonna go completely off track.
Yeah.
But I have strong anchors. We need to retire early. Like that, we need to like get get out of here as soon as possible, done with like the whole corporate world, so we
Mm-hmm.
can just like pursue personal interests and get back our time, our most valuable asset, right? Our time. And
Wow.
we need to secure, you know, my daughter's future. So that's what kind of like always brings me back. But you need to have a strong why,
Yeah.
because if you don't, you're not going to make it. There's so many tough times that come along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Civil emergency fund, then a big emergency comes up that completely wipes it out. What's going to anchor you for you to say, okay, now let me start from scratch and start and save up another $15,000 that could take you 5 years to save? You're gonna need a strong why to do that, because otherwise you're gonna be like, I'm not saving this again. This is ridiculous. I'm not doing this. Like, let just life is just gonna do whatever it does, and I'm just gonna put in my credit card and like, oh well, that's it.
That's
That's what you're gonna end up doing. So that why is so important.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's I follow some other people also are like on their journey of paying debt on YouTube, and sometimes I'm very surprised on how many pay up their debt, and then within 6 months to a year go
Yeah.
back into debt, and I'm like, girl, I thought we were done. You know what happened? And the thing is, like, you just realize that again, money is just a tool. The mindset is so important, and
Yeah.
and there is like so much work that we need to do to be able to manage. And so just hearing you saying that you paid off 53,000, 13 years it took you, and you're like, that's it. I'm never gonna be into debt again. No consumer debt ever for me. How most people don't do that. And that's also because of the society, because everything is like, oh, put it on your credit card. You kind of, even if you can't afford it, just put it on your credit card. And then people just get into debt again. And I'm like, wow, it takes a mindset shift. But I totally agree with you. It's the why, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what exactly are you, like, why do you want to do this? And it has to be something that definitely will make you not buy that purse, not buy that car, not buy that big house, something big enough, right? And only you
Sure.
will know. And it takes work, and not everybody wants to do that work, because it really would, it's kind of like a level of introspection that is not easy to actually do for most people, right? So,
Yeah. It also has to like almost become a part of your identity. Because
mm,
I think sometimes too, people, like I've seen channels like that too, they pay off the debt, then they go right back into debt. And I think sometimes, because you can be doing something just going through the motion, like, oh, I just want to pay off the debt. But it almost has to become embedded in you in terms of, I am someone that doesn't have debt. It's who I am. I'm not like it's not like some journey. It's who I am. I don't like debt. I don't believe in debt. It's who I am. Just like how if I have a religious belief, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, it's
that
who I
is
am. I'm
so
not like
true. That is so
just
true.
reading the Bible as a hobby. No, it's who I am. I'm just someone who doesn't believe in debt. Period.
Mm,
Right? I'm someone who believes in investing for my future. It's my personality. It's not like some goal.
mhm. Yeah,
It's part of my, core values.
core values,
I think
exactly.
once it gets embedded to like your core value, I think it's a lot easier to like stay on track. But if it's just like a task that you're doing,
Yeah, then it's easy to,
right,
yeah.
it's easy to justify. It's like, oh, great, I paid off my debt. Oh, wait, we had something with the car that cost me 2,000, whatever. And then,
Yeah.
oh, let me go buy a brand new car and take on $50,000 of debt, right? Because it was like an exercise. It wasn't,
Hmm.
you were someone who's like, I don't believe in. You'd be like, there's no way I'm getting a car and take on debt. I'm
Exactly. Yeah.
walking, I'm busing, I'm biking. Like, no, I
And
don't
I'm
believe
saving for the car.
in debt.
Yeah.
It's my personality. So yeah, there's a big difference. You have to like embed it into
Mhm.
your core values to like really stick with it.
I think that's a very good point. I think that also applies to so many things other than money, even to like diet. I think I need to tell myself I'm someone who doesn't eat chocolate. So I
You
can stop
do.
eating them.
You don't. Or like I don't drink. I don't drink out. Like I
Oh,
don't.
that's good. So let me ask you, because so last year in August you bought your house, and I remember when you were doing the video, and I'm like, Mona, don't buy the house, don't buy. And that is coming from someone who has owned her own house for, I don't know, whatever, 13 years now, something like that, almost 13 years. No, actually, no, I lied. I bought it in 2013. We're in 2024, so 11 years, almost 11 years. And I was, I always tell myself, I'm like, you know what? If I had thought about this a bit, just a little bit more, maybe I wouldn't have bought the house. And I know it's a whole debate today, right?
Right.
Of
Yeah.
the buy
Mhm.
versus rent. So I'm gonna ask you, from your perspective of a new homeowner, how's that working for you so far?
I would say overall, I'm happy I bought my home, but I bought my home for a different reason. So for me, it was to set down roots for myself and my daughter. And that's why I bought the home. Not because I thought I was gonna like make a bunch of money off of it, or that I thought it was a better investment than putting that money into the stock market. It's just I need stability for myself and my daughter. We've been renting her entire life, my entire life. And now that I am sure that we're going to stay in New York City, I want to put down roots. We need a permanent base for the both of us. That's the only reason why I bought my home, because the home, there's so many costs that go into it. One, the very hefty down payment I had to put. So I bought something called a co-op. It's unique to New York City. I think a couple other cities have it. A lot of co-ops require a minimum 20%, 25% down payment. So
Wow.
it's not like buying a conventional home where people have
Yeah, with
3%.
5%. Yeah.
No, you need to come with some real cash. So I put down six figures for my home down payment. It took me 10 years to save that home down payment. So, don't think, oh, she saved that in 2 years. No, I remember I just became a high earner in 2022.
Yeah.
Right? It's 20, right? I haven't been a high earner for a long time. I've
Yeah.
been a low earner relative to New York City. So it
Mhm.
took me a really long time to get that down payment. Um, so that's how I look at the home, because the six-figure down payment I put on the home, that was just the start.
Mhm.
Because when I got the closing, then there was extra closing costs. Then there was this extra thing that cost $2,200. Then it ended up costing a lot more than I originally budgeted for.
Mhm.
Now that's just the closing costs, right? And home down payment. Then when you think about the cost that you paid to move
Yeah.
and buy new furniture and get the place painted, that was several that I easily spent. I stopped tracking once I got to $19,000 in terms of money that I spent.
Upset.
If you think about my portfolio, right, the update I recently made that I hit six
Yeah.
figures, if you think about it, I would have been I would have been hit six figures if I didn't have this house,
Yeah.
right? Because that six-figure down payment would have been in my brokerage account. So my brokerage account would not just be at 100,000, be at 200,000 plus all the 19K plus
Yeah.
that I put into furnishing and
Mhm.
painting and all, and the home is not even fully done, right, in terms of making it cozy and things like that. So there's going to be several more $1,000 spent over the year, and things like that. So that's why for me, I didn't necessarily look at the home as like an investment. It was more like we just need a home base so we don't have to move again.
Mhm.
But of course, I understand it's a home over the long term. I'm going to build some type of equity, but again, that equity is all tied up. So it's like it doesn't. It's not really helpful, and I don't believe in debt, so I'm not taking out a HELOC for anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, okay, I have this because technically the down payment I put, right, that's my equity.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't tap that from my, I can't.
Exactly. It's not the same. You're gonna have to get a loan, like I say, HELOC to have access to it. So.
Right. So the way I'm thinking about it is more like maybe when I hit retirement
Mhm.
age, and if the home grows in enough equity where I could buy something comparable, but pay for it, I don't know, in cash I don't even know, right? It
Yeah.
all depends on how much it increases. That's why, again, I just think about it more as a home base.
And and I think that's one thing that we need to. I honestly think we need to stop saying that people buying house to live in is an investment,
Mhm.
because it may make you money or it may lose you money,
Yeah,
but at the end of the
right.
day,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And going back to the why are you buying a house to live in when you have the possibility to rent? And
Yeah.
I like the point that you make. And also here, beyond the monster is saying that is the only motivation to buy a
Mhm.
house. It's essentially to not have to be moving from one place to the other
Right.
and be at the mercy of landlords back and forth. But so it's
Yes.
really peace of mind. And so when so peace of mind to me is priceless, right? So and so I'm saying that because, like I say, I've owned my house for 10 plus years. And I promise you, and I've tracked everything since the time that I bought the house. And I know, so I'll be doing a video. Whenever I sell this house, I'll tell you guys, I bought it at this price. I sold it at this price. And then I paid so much interest over
Mhm.
how many years I've owned the
Yes.
house. All the maintenance, I'm tracking everything. And here I am, not being able to do anything with my 10 fingers. So, the furnace breaks, I have to call someone. I'm no techie, I'm no handy person. And honestly, knowing myself, I should have never bought a house for me to live. However, coming back to the peace of mind, coming back to, and at the time I didn't have my kids yet, but I'm the oldest of my family, and my younger siblings were coming to Canada to study. So there were like four of them actually, yeah, three of them at the time that were gonna be living with me, and then a couple of years after, two younger cousins were coming. So I knew we're gonna be like four, five, six people at any time here. And so to me, I'm like, which place am I going to rent where we can actually,
Right.
I mean, I could rent a house. But then I'm like, okay, let me just look at the price. And at the time, you know, I was like, I could afford to buy the house. But honestly, it didn't compute to me the whole maintenance that comes with
Yeah.
owning the house, right? Like, all of the roof is leaking, or I guess I need to fix
Yeah.
it. Like, the laundry machine breaks, I guess I need to call someone. It's like, and with the house, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because that's gonna happen,
Yes.
right? So I think it's definitely that we need to change the way we approach buying a house to live in. Like buying a house to rent or like whatever, that's different because then you need to run your numbers, make sure that it makes sense, cash flowing and all of those things. But like buying a house to live in, if because if you saw, and that's why even when I look at your numbers, when you do your net worth, I like the fact that you're very conservative with your house value. You always put your house price because maybe
Yes.
your house is worth $50,000 or $100,000 more now, but you just go the conservative way because you don't want to
I don't
rely
know.
on that, right? And that's the same thing I did when I came to, and when I realized that I was coast fi. I'm not counting the equity in this house. I'm not counting even the little pension that I'm gonna get from my current employer because I'm like, it may or may not happen, but my investment that I have, that I
Right.
know I have, and that's what I know that I can count on. If anything comes, then it's gravy. But I don't want that to be, because if I put like a $200,000 equity in the house and then I sell the house and I'm just getting 50,000 or 100,000, that's gonna throw off my whole planning,
Sure.
right? So I think it's really important to really not be so on the numbers and just like really understand why are you buying versus renting. And to me, there's nothing wrong with any of them. But I don't know for you in the US, but here in Canada, I guess there is, it's good to buy the house. You should buy the house. When you get to a certain point, you should own a house.
Right.
And so there's a bit of like almost like everybody has to go through the same process,
Yeah.
and I'm like, how can you be 45 and still you don't own a house? And I'm like, well, if the person only lives in Canada 6 months out of the year, why do they need a house for? If they like to travel, if all of those
Or
things.
maybe they don't want a home. It could just be that simple.
Exactly. Right.
And
So
that's okay too.
yeah. So I think it's really it's a really important.
But also on the flip side, to be fair, right?
Mhm.
Home ownership is a huge way how the majority of people build wealth, right? I mean, look at COVID-19. So many people made out like a bandit, literally a bandit, in terms of selling their home. Now, that's like a fluke sort of situation, right? Because it's like, okay, no one could have predicted that. But just based on the fact that you are a homeowner, the amazing equity you got, and then if you sold just the out of this world profit you made, there is something to be said about that. No one renting got any of that benefit. They didn't, right?
Yeah.
They didn't.
But
So it's a
do
big
you?
part of how people are building wealth. So I don't want
Yeah.
to completely discount it. Um,
Hmm.
I actually think it's a huge part of how a lot of people are building wealth is
A
they're
lot.
building the equity and
True.
things like that. So
Hmm.
I do think there's a place for it, but I also, to what you said, to understand other people's argument in terms of
Hmm.
why they maybe wouldn't be interested in pursuing it.
Yeah. I like Beyond the Masters. Like, even if you handy, it's better to call a company. I'm not even handy. I'm calling a company. Like, I've had electrician come here and spend like half an hour, barely. I'm pretty sure they stayed longer just to make me feel like they did something, and
Yeah.
then they give me the invoice like 150. I'm like, Lord, you know, like, so
Can you imagine if you got paid $150 per 30 minutes? Oh my gosh. It's like,
I, I tell you, I shouldn't have gone to university for whatever bachelor in administration. I should have gone into trades or something like
yeah.
that because the money is there. The money is there. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely better to get someone who knows what they're doing. And anyway, I can change light bulbs. I can do a few things, but most of the time, I just need someone else to do it. Um, so I just want to be conscious of the time. It's like we have been here for an hour 15 now, and I love the conversation. But again, I want to be mindful of your time, and also I want to free up my brother who's looking after my kids now because I'm like he's probably like, when is she coming back? She said 1 hour maximum. But Mona, my last question for you, and then after, if there is anything that you wanna also share with us, I'll let you do that. What would you say is your wealth building superpower?
My wealth building superpower is, and we talked about this a little bit before, is really living below my means.
Hmm.
That's it. That because in my second to last, I believe, portfolio update where I talked about hitting the $100,000 milestone, I was able to put in a really large deposit of over $5,000 to accomplish that.
Yeah,
I could have took that money and gone on a vacation,
true.
or just treated myself to something really nice, like, I don't know, a bag, an experience, um, right? I could have easily done that and just not um, put it towards my investing. But because I'm living below my means, I'm able to have excess cash that are in accounts for different reason and able to make deposits like that. So each of my paychecks, again, because I'm living below my means, and because of the high income, I don't want to discount that.
Yeah.
That high income makes a huge difference.
Hmm.
I have several thousand of dollars per check,
Hmm.
right? There's 2 checks per month per check.
And sometimes
Like,
three if you
all
pay
of
it
these
bi-weekly.
do different things. But
Yeah.
again, because I'm living below my means, if I have, say, $3,000 extra per check, so $6,000 per month, I'm living, but I don't have anything that I would really spend that money on. So I just chuck it all at it and invest in. And that's how I'm making these big deposits, some of the weeks, and really aggressively invest into my future, retirement accounts.
Hmm. Well, you have the perfect combination here: high income and low expenses, and That's the winning combination. At the end of the day,
And having a strong why. That part,
exactly. And yeah.
that part I think comes before the high income
Hmm.
and living below my means. Because again, you said it, plenty of people with high income, higher income than me,
Yeah. Yeah.
not able to invest $3,000 a month, or who earn 200K and they
Hmm.
feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. They feel like they're not making any money.
Yeah.
Yeah, people feel like that because their expenses are so
That's
inflated.
so
The kids are in
exactly.
private school. They're going on 2 or 3 vacations per year. That each of those vacations is 5K per month. They have this really expensive home. It's, if you kind of think about it that way, it's easy for someone to make 200K and live paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
especially if they have a very expensive home,
Hmm.
because their home alone could be like 50-60% of their check, and we haven't even talked about any other expenses.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And so, listen, Mona, we can continue having this conversation
I love
forever, but I want to thank you for honestly coming here and being so transparent and being open, sharing your journey. And I know that someone out there who's gonna listen, even if it's not today in the chat live. People are gonna listen to this video in the future, and I know that this is going to inspire another Black woman, depending on where she's in on her journey. And so, first of all, guys, I want to make sure that so I put Mona's YouTube channel in the chat. Just go over there, subscribe. She's very consistent. She shares her updates on a weekly basis. Make sure to also comment on her video to encourage her as she's going through this journey. Of course, don't forget to also like and subscribe to the channel here. But Mona, what didn't we talk about that you feel like is so important on this journey, especially as a single parent? And I'm in the same boat. I remember when I told so I have an accountability partner. If I accountability partner works really good for me. So my accountability partner for the fire journey. And so when I told her that I was pregnant for my second pregnancy, at the time she didn't even know that I was having twins. She's like, "Listen, how are we gonna make it to fire if you keep on getting pregnant?" Kids cost money, and I'm like,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I know. So what I told her after the twins were born that actually I had twins. She's like, and then you go from one to three. When are we gonna make this happen? So, but yeah, so just to say, it's not an easy journey for the majority of people, even like not having, I guess, that challenge of being a single parent. But yeah, so what didn't we talk about that really you want to make sure is mentioned here before we bring this interview to a close?
Yeah, I would say just in general, but specifically towards single parents, you have to get out of your feelings. I know it's easy to say, because I was with my ex and he left when our daughter was 6 months old, and I could have easily used that as a lifetime crutch. I was abandoned. Everything is on me. Life is hard. Life is just so unfair. This is not right. I'm mad. I'm angry. Woe is me. Woe is me. Like, poor me. Look at me. Like, he didn't care. He doesn't help financially. I had to get out of my feelings and say, yes, all those things are true. And no one is trying to discount the pain and the heartache that you've gone through. But you do have control of the situation. I know you don't want to hear that, but you 100% have control of your life and your situation, and you 100% can make it better. Is it going to be hard? Yes.
Yeah.
Probably so hard that you're going to be crying a lot. Yes. Because you have to work a lot of hours. You might need to work 2 jobs. Right? You have a very challenging boss and you have to work through that because you need the income to take care of your family, or it's like a really great opportunity for you to like really progress. Yes, it's going to be hard. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to say like, why is it all me? And why every weekend I have the children? Like,
Yeah.
Yes, but you have to get out of those feelings, because once you get out of those feelings, you can feel them and acknowledge them, of course, because they're valid and how you feel is valid. I would never say how you feel is not valid. But you still have to say, despite all of this, how can I take some control back? So like for me, right, it's okay, I need to like really focus on my career, and through job hopping, I was able to really increase my income. And now when I look at myself when I was with my ex, and now I'm doing a billion times better financially. Right? Like it would have been very easy for him to be like, oh, I can't make it because like his income was also coming in, and like, I was able, and like, oh, I'm never, but like now my income now surpass
Mm-hmm.
what we were bringing in combined, right? So you do have control over your situation. And I'm not saying this from a privileged standpoint or anything like that. I take 100% care of my daughter. Yes, when I'm at work, she's with a nanny because mama has to work and bring home the bacon, right? That's just the reality of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to just really own that I'm responsible for my life. And yes, there are moments that life is not going to be fair. It's going to suck. You're going to be mad, but you do still have control over your life. It really is up to you.
I'm gonna let
I
that.
know it's hard to hear. It's hard
I'm
to hear.
gonna.
Like I
No.
said, not saying the journey is going to be easy. I didn't say any of this was easy.
Yeah.
Not once did I ever say that. But you are 100% in control of your life, and you can do better. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Yes, we can exactly. Listen, like I said, it's you are so inspiring, and to me, I feel like, and you know, there might be other Black women doing the same, but not being out here sharing. And I feel like we need more, more of us coming out here and sharing because we do the thing, and
Yeah.
like you say, it's not easy. My mantra, especially
David.
since I have young kids, one day at a time. My goal is to go through one day. If at the
Yeah.
end of the day, everybody is fed, everybody had their shower, everybody, everybody
Yeah.
is clothed, like I did a good job. I did a good job, right? So I commend you for saying that. I really enjoy our conversation, and people are also sharing here. Amazing interview. People are really appreciative of how you were generous with the information and your strategy to save. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm out here trying to find those
Yes,
amazing
I
Black
love it.
women and bringing them to you guys because we just need more of us really being out here and really talking about this. So thank you so much for everybody who's in the chat. Thank you for your questions and also for participating. Again, don't forget to check Mona's YouTube channel and also share with your network, whomever is really on the journey of building wealth and reaching fire. I do believe that, like Mona just mentioned, that even if we cannot control everything, there are certain things that we can control, and we can really make things happen when we focus on what we can control. And so to me, I think that you just need to start somewhere, and sometimes you just need to start, and
Right.
then things that you want will come, but we need to start. So I again thank you so much for joining, Mona. If you can stay for 1 second, I'm just gonna end the live here. And so I'm back next week. I believe I'm back next week to my regular time at 12 p.m. on Wednesday. But in the meantime, again, thank you for joining. Have a great evening. I'm assuming most people are joining from North America here. And until next time, keep on building wealth.
Thank you for having me. Have a good night, everyone.